lot to not just me and this library, but to this community. He's done a lot for us, and we never thank him enough. But I would just like to welcome each and every one of you, and I will ask Reverend Ike Steverson if he would do the invocation.
Ike and I went to school together. We graduated together. We can't tell you why we lost our hair together. Ike, I don't let go do it. Makes you wonder why Joe, Clark, and Ike like me saying stuff like that. But yeah, that's how life is. It's good to be here. Before I forget, each one of you needs to have this program. I think it's lovely, and I don't write this. It says, the Holmes County Public Library building that you see today has been in existence for the last 9 years. And this was a dream come true for our community. We're here today to honor the man whose timeless efforts to raise money for this project made it possible. This man was Joe Clark, a champion for this community and especially our library. Excellent done, ladies. Excellent to say it. Sweet and to the point and very, very well. Joe was a personal friend of mine and my family and a very outstanding community leader. Joe was a quiet community leader. He did not rock the boat unless his heart told him to go that direction. Joe had his heart in this county and his roots in Esto. Hammock Pond, sucker fishing, one-gallon bucket with 2-year-old grease. I went up there to a fish fry. I made sure the grease was fresh. They called Joe Bob up there in Esto. I told Joe, and I told this to Ike a while ago, that if you call somebody by 2 names, that meant you was mean, so I told Joe that. He says I was, and laughed at me. I like Joe. Everybody liked Joe. He was very unique. Joe's character as a person and leader enhanced his ability to be an outstanding community leader. Joe chose his battles wisely. If he picked on an issue, he gave it great thought. He didn't charge a situation just for the sake of noise. He did it for the sake of himself and the community, with himself being last. And before I forget, I want to recognize certain family members, the wife, Becky, her friend Lindsay. I have Kelly. Becky, raise your hand. Lindsay? Daughter. Kelly. Kay. And Kendall. I saw Kendall a while ago. And Kendall. Those Kendall and Kay and Kelly are his children. Becky's wife, and Lindsay's a friend, the daughter of Becky. Joe used his wit and sincerity as a leader. If Joe said something in the public, he was sincere about his interest. You knew where he was coming from. I love that in anybody, and I think we should all appreciate that. Joe was a gentleman, and he would demand respect if you gave respect. But he reminded me of John Wayne sometimes. I will not be insulted. I will not be wrong. And I like that in a man. I love it in a woman. Joe was a very kind person. When my mother had cancer, not long to live, Joe says, "Oh, and I've been there. I've done that. I'll come over and spend the night and stay with your mother." What a kind man. What a beautiful man. I will never forget that. Joe will go down in my mind forever. Joe wisely picked Holmes County Library as his project. There was other things he could have done. There was other interests he could have showed. But he picked on this building. He picked on this facility. He picked on the concept of the library as an interest of Holmes County, and I agree with Joe. I agree with Joe about that. Joe could have been in politics. He could have done other things, but he dedicated his interest to this project. He really gave it his heart. He was not one to beat his own drum. Joe consistently beat the drum for the library. You did not see him because he did it non-controversial. He did it for the sake of the community. He came down here and helped get this building over here established. He got this lot from the school board. And only Joe asked was to understand his perspective, and he did it in a quiet and dignified manner. Another characteristic of Joe, when he presided over a meeting, there was a sense of charm about him. There was a sense of wit about him. He always had something good to say. I said at a funeral one time I attended, he says, "You know what I liked about this man? I always had to go out of my way. He made me feel good." He said that at the Parliament. What I liked about Joe, I always went out of my way because Joe made me feel good. That's Joe Clark. I can tell you that Joe did not support this library for money. He did not support it for fame. He did not support it for fortune. He supported it for us here today in this little town of Bonifay, Florida. And just for a moment, I want to tell you what a library is. It's the spirit of the community. It's your effort to enhance your ability to understand the world around you that this is symbolic of. It's your standard of your mind that a library holds for that town. And Joe took it to task, and not one time did he ever waver from that steady drumbeat that only Joe Clark had, is you don't quit until you achieve your job. I admire Joe for that characteristic. I need to read this plaque here in memory of Joe Clark, January 21st, 2011, honoring his lifelong love of reading and a dedication to this library of love and gratitude of your library friends and family. Again, I would like to emphasize that Joe kept pursuing this until we stand before you today as a success story. Joe had a quiet following. If you oppose the interest of the library, and I want to say the word that I don't like to say sometimes, we will oppose you. Joe had that type of following. And the reason he was in front, he knew how to do it with great dignity and honor. I have to say that there are other leaders that came before Joe, but what makes Joe such a beautiful person is that he enhanced what they were trying to do. Where they left off, Joe went forward. We had Mr. Ed Williams. I have to mention him. We had others before Mr. Ed. We had other people before Joe. Joe picked up and continued pulling that wagon that they so faithfully pulled. With that said and done, I just want us to all respect this moment and keep a memory of Joe. Every time you ride by this library, think of those that made this possible today. And that my hair is now beginning to bother me, I'll step.
These are Joe's grandson. He's the grandson. He's his family friend.
Which is the grandson?
Right there.
What's your name? Curtis? What's your name? Okay, very well.
And we thought to honor him and say happy birthday. I just love the statue. It's beautiful.
We have refreshments next